Two Australian punters in the college football championship game here. We've got Notre Dame punter James Rendell. It is crazy in this building, and I'm curious what's running through your mind as you take in a media day about 2 days before the big game.
Yeah, it is, mate. It's a lot of fun. Right now I'm just living in the moment, taking it all in. We don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves and start thinking about the game too early. We got practice after this, so I'm all about taking care of today, and we'll worry about the game when we get to it on Monday night.
How have you gone with that? Because I can speak to my personal experience. I would be thinking about this over and over. You play under pressure every single week, but how have you managed the stress, perhaps the nerves, perhaps the anticipation for what's to come?
Yeah, no, it's certainly been a process and things I've had to figure out along the way. But I just try and be grateful for the opportunity. I think when you have a lot of gratitude in your heart, that sort of overcomes any sort of fear or doubt that you have. And at the end of the day, it's really just a lot of fun. I'm trying to have fun with it. At the end of the day, I've got this opportunity to come over here and kick a football in front of hundreds of thousands, millions of people. It's such an amazing opportunity, and being at Notre Dame, there's pressure every week. So the playoffs haven't been any different for us.
I am curious when you mention perhaps the path to get in here. Let's say 4 years ago, and we know you come through Prokick like so many other punters that are here. 4 years ago, maybe 2 years ago, you're playing Australian rules football. Could you picture yourself in the national championship game?
Yeah, no, it's certainly been an amazing ride. But this whole sort of seed got planted in my mind when I was watching the national championship game. I think it was in 2016 between Alabama and Clemson. Me and my old man were watching it on the couch, and he sort of suggested to me that if I could do this one day if I wanted to, because he knew Nathan Chapman, who's the head coach of Prokick Australia. I think when my dad was finishing up with Fitzroy, they then moved up to Brisbane, and he was finishing up his career, and Chappie was just getting started. So I think they might have had 1 or 2 years together where they crossed paths. So he knew that this Prokick Australia pathway existed, and sort of from then onwards, I'd kept an eye on it while still trying to pursue my AFL ambitions, and and it sort of got to the point where I had to sort of pick one or the other, and ended up pursuing a punting career with Prokick, and I just dedicated myself to that. And I think when you truly dedicate yourself to something and try your best 100% of the time, windows of opportunity open up for you, and I'm just trying to take advantage of every opportunity that comes my way, and I believe that's what I've been able to do so far.
So I am wondering, when was actually the first moment, because it's one thing to go there and there's a bunch of guys there and a bunch of guys that don't get in your shoes right now. When was the time when you were like, actually, I think there is a pathway. I think I'm starting to figure this thing out?
Yeah, so it would have been the first time where I went down and had a kick with Nathan Chapman at Glenferrie Oval in Hawthorn, and he just said, here's an American football. It was the first time holding one. He said, just kick it as far as you can. So I think after about 3 or 4 kicks, he's like, all right, I've seen enough, you can go home and I'll see you at practice on Monday morning. So at the time, I felt like I had a lot to think about, but he was like, mate, it's an easy decision for you. So I'm really grateful that he was able to recognise something in me, and then the hardest part was taking that first step to join the program, and then once I did that, it was the best thing I've ever done, and I've never looked back.
So when it does come to punting, you've already spoken a lot about perhaps mental challenges you go through to even get to this position, but during the game, it's so fascinating. It's such a fascinating role. I asked Joe McGuire, it feels like most athletes desperately want to be on the field. Maybe it's not necessarily the best thing if you are on the field, so how do you stay ready, and how do you work through the mental challenges of a game?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, and that was something I had to figure out throughout the first part of the season, is how can I keep my mental and physical body in an optimal state of mind to go out and perform, because you've really got to stay locked in for like 5 hours, and you come out for your first warm-up, you go back inside, come out for a second warm-up, and then the game starts, and you might sit, there's been games where I've sat on the bench up until like the last 5 minutes of the quarter, then I have to go deliver it, execute a good punt with the game on the line. And there's been other games where I haven't even punted at all. There's been other games where I punted a lot. So you just sort of have to stay ready, and I get a lot of confidence from my preparation. I know I've prepared as best I can. Then it becomes a game day. It's sort of about just letting go, trusting yourself, and having fun with it. I think that the most important thing is to really enjoy it and have fun, because it's such a unique experience that a lot of people wish they could do. So I understand that every time I go out there and every time I put the gold helmet on, I'm in a really privileged position, and you know, I want to make the most of it.
So you had 4 punts in the game against Penn State. And I'm curious what you are thinking. You're playing for such a great team, a great offense as well, and a great defense. So you had 1 punt in the first quarter of that game. Now, I don't know why our man Fair caught it on the 2-yard line. But when you are in that situation where you're kind of in that middle ground, it's one thing to say, okay, I'm going for distance, I'm going for hang time. How aggressive are you, and what runs through your mind in those situations?
Yeah, so you know, I had a lot of punts from the midfield in the last game, and you want to pin them in the 10, so then the other team has to drive the whole length of the field, and you want to give your defense great starting position. So my goal is to always pin them inside the 10. And you know, if that guy didn't fair catch it last week, I have no doubt the Gunners were down there to make the catch for us anyway. So again, it's really about just picking a target and kicking to it, which is something I've done my whole life. So you don't want to overthink it or overcomplicate it. You just want to go out there, you know, catch the ball and kick the ball.
I know there's a lot of fascination in the US about what we would call the drop punt.
Yeah.
How unique have you found that over here in terms of what your teammates say, what the coaches say, and clearly it is becoming more common, and particularly in the college game where you can run around a little bit?
Yeah, I think you know, the Australians being able to have different types of kicks in their arsenal is certainly an advantage, and it's attractive to special teams coaches. You know, you got guys who can do traditional spirals from the pocket, or they can, you know, roll out and do the rugby style kick, they call it here, because I don't think anyone knows what Australian football is. So I think having, you know, and sometimes guys kick, you know, snaps and bananas, and they spin in the air and get them to roll along the ground. So there's so many different types of kicks that you can do. You know, there's no one way to skin a cat. So I think you know, having a lot of different tricks in the arsenal is certainly beneficial.
Now, we mentioned Joe, and we know that you have communication, but I asked him the same question. I won't tell you what he said, but at what point does the communication cut off before the championship game? And is there any perhaps banter from you about, you know, make sure you don't shank one, Joe, or try any mind games?
No, there hasn't been any mind games yet, but you know, we've been exchanging texts, you know, throughout the playoffs, because obviously they were on the other side of the bracket, we were on the other side of the bracket, and you know, we were sort of saying how cool would it be we were able to play each other in the final, and you know, both of us just have kept winning, and you know, have been playing really good football. So it's going to be fun to go out there and compete against him. I think it's going to be a great game. You know, 2 great teams, and it's going to be a lot of fun.
Now, you're a tall man. I do a lot of work in basketball, so I'm not feeling uncomfortable about this situation, but your quarterback, Riley Leonard, was just asked to give his starting 5 from your roster, and I was sitting here and I'm saying, come on, what about our man? Get him in there. And are you surprised that he didn't put you in the starting 5 basketball team?
Honestly, I'm not surprised at all. You know, I always wish I was good at basketball. It runs in my blood. My cousin, Tess Madgen, was actually the captain of Australia's women's team at the most recent Olympics, and her brothers also came over here and played college basketball. So it does run in the blood, but I was always hopeless at it. But yeah, I'm a bit disappointed Riley wouldn't just chuck me in the paint, and I can get some rebounds for him, but is what it is.
Well, what about other positions in football then? I think people could see you're a tight end. You've obviously got good hands. You played any suggestion?
Yeah, I mean, we've run a lot of fake punts this year, and I'm still waiting for them to call the one where I run down the field and take a catch and score a touchdown. But yeah, it is pretty unique being 6'6" as a punter, but I think it sort of helps having those long levers. And I'm just trying to, you know, make the most of the genetics I've been given.
Yeah, we love it, and good luck on Monday. You're in a position that a lot of people in Australia would love to be in, and we're proud of you, and hope it goes well.
Thanks, Kane. Appreciate it.